Hey everyone, welcome back to Greta's House of Horrors. I hope everyone's had a nice St. Patrick's Day in March. Today I wanted to talk about the Irish horror movies that I've been watching this month. I try to find ones that have to do with Celtic lore, such as the Fae or Changelings or anything with Druid culture. So these were all first watches for me, so I'm just going to briefly state them. These will be spoiler free, but I will state if it pertains to Celtic lore. And I will not be talking about the Leprechaun franchise, just simply because I think that it gets enough attention, so I just wanted to highlight other Irish horror. So let's get into it. So the first one I watched was A Dark Song from 2016. This movie was about an angry and grief-stricken mother who rents a house and hires an occultist to perform this very elaborate ritual in order to be granted a wish. This was a very heavy and intense movie, but did it pertain to Celtic lore? I would say no. The occult, ritual itself were not based in any Celtic lore. But I do recommend this movie. This was a really good occult movie. So the next movie I watched was Mandrake from 2022. This movie was about a parole officer who's assigned to a woman who was in prison for murder, and she's been released. And shortly afterwards, some children go missing, leading the townsfolk to suspect her. This movie absolutely pertains to Celtic lore with the Mandrake and its connections to witchcraft. But personally, I think this movie fell apart. It started off really good. Like the first half was a really nice slow burn, but the second half, the pacing dramatically changed. And honestly, I was confused throughout the second half, and I just didn't care for the ending. So this did pertain to Celtic lore, but I just didn't care for it, which is a shame because I thought that this movie had a lot of potential. So the next movie I watched was Caveat from 2020. This movie was very unsettling and creepy. It was about a man suffering from partial memory loss, and he accepts this job to watch this troubled young woman in this isolated, dilapidated house on an island, and eventually he uncovers a murder mystery, and there's this possessed rabbit toy, and that's not even the creepiest thing in this movie. There's a scene towards the end that is like that's just absolute nightmare fuel, and if you've seen the movie, you likely know what I'm talking about. I also did want to quickly add the movie Oddity from 2024. I watched Oddity earlier last year, and these two movies have the same director. They're not directly connected, but there are Easter eggs in Oddity. So if you haven't seen either movie, I would recommend watching Caveat first. I do recommend both Caveat and Oddity. These two were really good atmospheric horror. They were both very creepy. But as far as Celtic lore, I would say unsure. Both Caveat and Oddity have supernatural elements. There's like spirit hauntings and like possessed objects, but I feel like the world that these two movies take place in, there could be other things going on. In Caveat, the main supernatural force appears to be a golem from Jewish lore. And I honestly don't know what's going on with the rabbit toy. Like it could be a spirit connected to it, but I can't really talk about theories without going to spoiler territory, so I'm going to kind of leave it open, ambiguous, that there could be other things going on. So that's that. So the next movie I watched was Rawhead Rex from 1986. Rex, I'm just going to refer to him as Rex. Rex was this ancient, like, demonic entity, this demonic entity that had been worshipped as a god in Ireland, and he gets trapped under this stone monolith, and a farmer accidentally releases him, and Rex just goes on a rampage. And our main character is an American scholar there with his family, and he ends up getting involved and he tries to solve the issue. When I watched the trailer to this, I saw Rex's mask and just his total outfit looked a little low budget, so I wasn't sure what the tone of the movie was going to be. But for the most part, despite a few silly scenes, this movie takes itself serious. So if you're looking for a creature feature of a monster terrorizing the Irish countryside, this is your movie. So was it based in Celtic lore? I'm going to say sure. Rex was, worshipped in Ireland prior to, Christianity. And I guess I didn't say I was looking for, authenticity, so I say it counts. So moving on, the next one I watched was Frewaka from 2024. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the title of that correctly. This movie was about this home care assistant who's assigned to this elderly lady who recently suffered a stroke. And this lady lives in a remote area in Ireland. And her home has all these protection symbols around her house because she believes that the Fae are coming after her. Both women are dealing with past trauma, and the home care worker begins to suspect that the Fae might be real. So this movie absolutely counts for Celtic lore. This was a slow burn, but I was intrigued throughout the entire movie, so I did enjoy this one. The next movie I watched was The Canal from 2014. It's about a couple who purchased a house along the canal, and the husband learns that a gruesome murder had happened over a century prior. And the husband kind of goes through this downward spiral, and he begins to suspect that the spirit of the killer is still around, causing harm. So was this based on Celtic lore? I'm going to go with no. This movie was more of a psychological thriller. I'm going to admit I struggled a bit with the pacing the first half of the movie, but it might have just been the mood that I was in. It did pick up the second half. So if you like psychological thrillers, I would recommend this one. The next movie I watched was The Devil's Woods from 2015. This was a low-budget movie about these woods that have a legend to them. They said that it's haunted by the ghosts of Hellfire members who were murdered, and these members made a pact with the devil, and that they would come back to life and kidnap and murder people, because there's been reports of people going missing. Our main characters are two couples that are going through these woods to go to a concert, and when they're in these woods, they do encounter issues. With it being low budget, like this movie, my overall reaction to it was just rather meh. It was just rather mid for me. Does it pertain to Celtic lore? I'm gonna go with unsure. The legends, have to do with like devil worship. But as I was watching it, I was sort of picking up on some pagan vibes and like possibly like some Wicker Man, inspiration. But overall, I don't think I would watch this movie again. Let's see. The next movie I watched was The Lodgers from 2017. This was a really beautifully shot Gothic film. It's about these two fraternal twins who live in this, rotting mansion, and they're kind of trapped there. There's these entities that live in the basement, and they force these laws on them. They have to be in bed by midnight. They can't have anyone over, and they can't leave each other. So there's this family generational curse that's on them. And the sister eventually develops a relationship with a veteran that's returned home. I want to say this movie takes place during World War One. And this budding relationship starts to put a strain on the obligations that they must keep with these entities. As I said, this was beautifully shot. The acting was solid, but I just found that the storyline just was unsatisfactory. I just was finding myself picking at the logic. So, was this movie about Celtic lore? I would say yes. This is considered folk horror, and like as I said, it's beautifully shot. I just don't know if I would rewatch this again. So the next movie I watched was St. Patrick's Day Massacre from 2025. So this movie opens in the 1800s in this tavern, and a husband learns that his wife's been cheating on him. He goes to the tavern, he murders the lover, and he attempts to murder his wife. But the townsfolk intervene. They kill him, bury him under the tavern, but not before he issues a curse. So then we flash forward to present times. A group of friends are getting together for a annual trip, and this stranger invites them over to the tavern, and they encounter some trouble. So I have to admit, when the opening credits, I thought I saw Charles Band's name, so I thought this was a full moon features. Like, this movie kind of had a full moon feel to it, but then during the credits, I saw one of the actresses' names was like Charlie Bond, so I was mistaken. But this was a low budget slasher movie. It wasn't bad. Overall, I would say it was mid. So was it Celtic related? Sort of. This is a ghost movie, but this ghost particularly comes back on St. Patrick's Day. So this is a St. Patrick's Day themed horror movie. So this could be, a St. Patrick's Day themed, tradition. But in other words, it was fine. So the next movie I watched was Grabbers from 2012. This was a horror comedy. I would even say a spoof. So this is a alien invasion on an isolated Irish island. These creatures have tentacles that drink your blood, and the two police officers who are trying to solve the problem realize that these creatures have a weakness for alcohol, and they will get sick if they drink from drunk people. So the plan is to get the town drunk to protect everyone from these creatures. So while this movie was not about Celtic lore, this movie was full of Irish stereotypes, but this was a very fun and cute movie. I would definitely watch this one again, so I do recommend this one. Let's see, the next movie I watched was The Devil's Doorway from 2018. This was a found footage format film. It takes place in the 1960s at this house run by nuns for fallen women, pregnant women out of wedlock. And these two priests are assigned to investigate there because there's been like a miracle report because the Virgin Mary statues are weeping blood. So the priests go there and they uncover some horrific things that are going on. This movie was a hard watch for me because due to the subject matter. This is a fictional movie, but there's things in this movie that have happened in real life. Like these type of houses or institutions really existed, and some of the horrific things that the priests uncover have happened in real life. So this movie was just a little too real world based for me. And this movie is also found footage style, and a lot of people don't care for found footage, so it's warning to put out there. But as far as was it Celtic related, I'm going to say no. This was more Catholic horror. So there's that. So moving on. So the last movie I watched for the month was Don't Leave Home from 2018. This movie opens with a mystery. This young girl disappears shortly after having her portrait taken, and the artist was a priest who then goes into exile after the controversy. And there's an American artist who's fascinated with different missing cases, and she's making exhibits, like these dioramas about missing cases, and the priest contacts her and wants her to come to Ireland and have an auction to raise money because she's financially troubled. So she goes over there, but she starts to learn more things about the case. And again, this was another slow burn, but I was intrigued by it. Was it Celtic related? I do believe this was based on an Irish urban legend, so I think this would count. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So there we go. That's all the movies that I watched this month that were Irish horror. But if you're like me and are looking for Irish horror that pertains to Celtic lore, I do have a few other recommendations. I'm just going to list them and not state the summary because it's been a while since I watched them, so they're not fresh in my mind. So the first one is Wakewood from 2009, A Hole in the Ground from 2019, and The Hollow from 2015. I also have one more recommendation that is from my shopping haul, which I'm going to transition to next. So this brings me to my shopping haul. The first things I got was a book and magazine that I purchased directly from Dennis Daniel. The book is The Horror, a film fanatic's obsession with the cinema of the macabre. And the magazine is Cinema Macabre. I haven't gotten a chance to look through it, but I love this artwork. These came earlier this month with a bunch of freebies, so thank you, Dennis. This book has interviews with different horror authors and different horror icons talking about their favorite horror movies. So if you're a horror fan, this is a pretty good book. Dennis is on Facebook if you want to reach out to him to purchase this. Thank you, Dennis. And I have 2 Irish movies, but I can only really recommend one. The other one, I acknowledge it's not good, but I like it anyways, and that is The Eternal Kiss of the Mummy. I'm guessing this has not been upgraded to Blu-ray, because I can only find this on DVD. So this movie is about this American couple. The wife is dealing with migraines and some alcoholism. They decide to go to Ireland to visit her family in order to give up their vices. Christopher Walken is briefly in this, and he plays the crazy uncle. He pulls his niece aside, and he's like, I found this ancient bog mummy in our backyard, and I'm going to bring her back to life. And she happens to be a druid priestess, and she does come back to life and causes some problems. This is a low-budget movie from the late 90s. I think, was it 1998? I mean, this movie doesn't make sense. I mean, a lot of people don't like this movie, but for me, like, this is atmospheric, it's moody. This is like a good rainy day film. I don't know. It has a vibe that I liked. I know people don't like it, but I do, so whatever. But this one I do recommend. The other Irish movie that has to do with Celtic lore is The Boys from County Hell from 2020. Okay. So this movie is about a small Irish town that has this famous cairn, and there's a legend connected to it. Underneath the cairn, there is this ancient, powerful vampire, and this vampire influenced Bram Stoker to write Dracula. And there's a family-owned construction company who've been hired to knock over the cairn for this pipeline that they're building through the town, much to the town folks' dismay. But once they knock the cairn over, they discover that the legend is real, and they now have a vampire problem. This movie is considered like a horror comedy, but I find that it's light on the comedy. This is more of a horror movie that happens to have some levity to it, and that being dark Irish humor. But they did go with Celtic lore with the vampire. Like this vampire is supposed to be of Celtic origin, and it's a really different and interesting film. So this one I do recommend. This other one was more kind of like guilty. It was like my own personal, guilty pleasure. I know it's bad, but I like it anyways kind of movie. So that was it for Irish. The rest of my purchases were more Italian and a little bit Spanish. I happened to pick up the first 3 volumes of the Danza Macabra Gothic collection. Let's see. So volume 1 is an Italian Gothic collection. And it has The Monster of the Opera, The Seventh Grave, Scream of the Demon Lover, and Lady Frankenstein. I already previously owned Lady Frankenstein from like a Roger and Corman, like a 4-pack DVD, but it is nice to own this one on Blu-ray with, with the bonus features. So there's volume 1. Let's see. Volume 2 is also Italian. Got this one. This one has Castle of Blood, Jekyll. They have changed their face. The Devil's Lover. Of all these, I've only seen Castle of Blood. This is a really good Barbara Steele film. I was at a convention and someone really recommended Castle of Blood, and I watched it. I'm like, yeah, this is really good. So yeah, there's volume 2. And the third volume is a Spanish Gothic collection. We have volume 3. It has Necrophagus, Cake of Blood, The Cross of the Devil, and The Night of the Walking Dead. I believe I've seen Night of the Walking Dead. I think that's a vampire one. So this is volume 3. I would like to get volume 4 at some point, but I'm not in a hurry for that. And then the last thing I got was this box set that I saw in someone else's collection. I thought that was very unique and I wanted to get it. I did get this used. It was either out of print or it was kind of absurdly priced. This is Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cats from Arrow. What was The Dance of Macabre? What was that? Oh, okay, The Dance of Macabre. This is from Severin. Right. I'm kind of trying to keep all the different distributors straight. So these are Severin. This is Arrow. So this is from Arrow. So this box set contains 2 Italian movies that adapted the Edgar Allan Poe story rather loosely. These are Sergio Martino's Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. Yeah, I'm trying to not get the glare. And Lucio Fulci's The Black Cat. And it also came with this booklet that has like interviews, and I think it even has the Edgar Allan Poe story. I can't really flip through that, but there's some nudity in here. But yeah, I was happy to get these. These are actually my first proper physical media for both Martino and Fulci. I think I have like a bootleg of Zombie that I picked up a long time ago at a convention. Like I do have plans to get, proper media of Fulci's, but so I have these 2 that I'm happy to have. And that concludes my shopping haul for the month. So that concludes my video. Thinking maybe next month, maybe I'll do an Easter horror video and maybe, more shopping haul, because there was a flash Criterion sale that I already picked up a few titles, so I already have a few things planned next month for the shopping haul. But so if you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.